Welcome to Conversations with. My name is Shaley Hoogendoorn, and I live with Bipolar II Disorder. Sharing with others is healing, both individually and collectively. Sharing our stories will educate others, bring more understanding, shed more light, and smash more stigma. Our voices need to be heard. Our stories aren't over yet. This is Bipolar. Hi everyone, welcome back to This is Bipolar. I still have my friend Leah Charles King here. If you're just listening now, go back and listen to the other one because she tells her story. She inspires us. It was a mic drop episode. So go back immediately go back. I wanted to do, and if you didn't listen to it, I will tell you, Leah is a TV presenter. She's been presenting for 25 years. She's in Place in the Sun, which is a very popular show in the UK, which we are all going to go and watch. And yeah, just been in broadcasting. And if you go back and listen, you can hear some deets about the girl band she was in. So Leah, thank you for doing extra recording. I so appreciate you. And I hope everybody knows that we are now best friends. So you will have to come back.
Yes, you will have to hop back. I will be back for sure. It's great to have a part two. I mean, I feel like I should have changed outfits or something.
Yeah,
right. Part two,
and I know.
Should have had them.
Yeah, when I used to have my co-host Julie, we would, because she had we'd clear a day and we would batch record and we would literally change.
Yeah, exactly. It's the best way
to
do
it.
Fun.
Yeah. It was so fun. Yeah, that's awesome. Well, in this second part, we wanted to talk about, we are recording this right in Mental Health May, and I am going to get it out. We wanted to talk about misconceptions, about the biggest misconceptions that, well, I mean, there's so many, but the biggest misconceptions that we would like people to, we just like to smash the stigma around them during this month when, we need to talk about it all the time. Leah's talking about it all the time, but in this time, I feel like we have a little bit more of a listening ear. So I wanted to get those misconceptions out there to those listening ears that maybe are being a little bit more open to listening to folks that have bipolar disorder. So Leah, I'd love to start with you. What is one that comes to mind first about that people think about people with bipolar disorder that are not true?
Oh, God, I mean, there's so many.
Yeah.
Put me on the spot. I'm trying to think of like one that's probably never been said, but it's no point trying to think of something different. The biggest misconception, I think, is that, like you're crazy. Let's just say that. You're crazy. People think people with bipolar are crazy. They write us off. Quite often. And that's definitely not true. I always look at people, it's funny, and I always say to people, I'm one of the sanest, insane people you can meet. If that's the case. If I'm on paper supposed to be insane,
whatever these words mean, right?
Because you're all mad, not me. Not them. Like the world is mad. Sometimes I feel. I look and I go, I feel like I'm the most balanced person around here. Obviously, I couldn't say that about myself 10, 15 years ago. And for those who didn't watch part one, go and watch part one. You'll hear more of my story there. But now at the place that I'm at, and the kind of balance that I really strive for, sometimes I sit back and I look at people and I say, I've got it more together.
You know what? I've actually been mulling this over the last year. It was probably my therapist that said it. Shout out to Audrey. Something about actually people that are managing serious mental illness. I mean, they're all serious. Mental illness are actually that self-awareness. She said, you can have mental illness and have good mental health. And I was like mind blown because I thought, well, obviously I have bad mental health if I have a mental illness, but we are forced to be, if we want to be well, to be self-reflective, to be doing self-care, community care. We have to be aware to be able to be well. And there are some people, they don't have a mental illness, but they walk through life not doing things that keep them well.
Oh, babe. Honestly, I mean, shout out to Audrey if that's what she told you, because Audrey is on point, honey.
Right?
Like Audrey is on. That is so deep and profound and so right, because on paper, I have a mental illness. I've got bipolar. I'm not going to deny it. I'm not going to say, oh, I'm well, so I no longer have it. That's dangerous, right? So I don't do that. However, because of the work, because of the constant self-reflecting, the self, like we are deep thinkers. And when you get to the point of wellness, or you make a decision to be well, and you start putting in all the things you have to do, like what I said, my 25 steps, and you start doing those things towards mental wellness, then that means, does that mean I'm no longer mentally ill? So deep what Audrey said. I still have bipolar though, but I'm mentally well. And actually, when I look at some of my peers, my friends, my family, just people in society, they don't have a diagnosis of anything. They're perfectly quote unquote well. I'm the unwell one. I'm
Yeah.
the one with the disability, with the mental illness. They're really well. And yet they have no self awareness. Yet they aren't even in a position like me where they can even go deep in the mind. They can actually walk through life in sheer ignorance.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that blows my mind, to be honest with
Right?
you. It really mind. Yeah, that blows my. Next time you speak to Audrey, tell her thanks for that. I
Oh,
will carry
oh,
that with me.
oh, well, I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
So she's actually so amazing. And one time she's listened a couple times. So yeah. Anyway,
Oh,
she's
that's
the
really
best.
nice.
She's the best. It took me a long
Yeah,
time
that's
to
so
find a good
sweet.
therapist. I think
Oh
a
yes.
misconception is, and you touched on it in what you just said, is that this idea of that we're entirely healed. Or I think I was presenting at a college of people that want to be EAs, educational assistants that work with the kids that have a bit more tricky needs. And I was talking and someone put up their hand. They're like, but you take medicine. Are you not better? And I was like, so this is a misconception that we're going to be immediately better, right? It's not Advil and a headache and goes away. It is chronic. It is uncurable at this point in time. We are going to have symptoms again. And do the meds help us? Yeah. Saved my life. Saved my life. But it's not, it like mutes things and makes it so that I can actually do the management skills that I need to do. We can't just take medication to be well, and we can't just rely that is going, like I'm on a healing journey. That's how I put it. Because when people say
Mm,
I'm healed or I'm like, because it trickles back in. I still have
yes.
periods of things. I get little bumps of hypomania, and I had long periods of, like, honestly, zero depression for bipolar
Yes.
depression, right? Like getting sad because something sad happened isn't depression, right? So
That's right. We have to learn the difference. Exactly. Yeah, yeah,
exactly,
yeah,
right? And
yeah.
so that's a big misconception, is that like we just should be, all the symptoms should be gone because we take medication.
And
I'm
I
very,
agree.
yeah.
Another misconception that people have asked me before is like, particularly again, if people are listening to part one, we touched on like our spiritual beliefs and things like that. I've had people come to me and say, well, then isn't bipolar a possession? Are you possessed by
Oh,
evil?
yep.
Yeah, I've had that. I mean, you're like, and the thing is, like I said to you again in part one, my walk with God is pretty good. My walk with God is better than a lot of people that I see who are going to church and doing all what looks good for the outs, for the community. They
Yeah.
wear the clothes, they look really good, they
Yeah.
carry their Bible, walk with their family.
Yeah.
Look at us, we're well to do. And behind closed doors, it's dark AF,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And actually, the way God has created me, or the way I feel I've been created,
Yeah.
is I'm fearfully, wonderfully made. I am me. I
Yeah.
am me. And I spent years beating myself over the head about that. And now, actually, when you come to a point of self love and
Yeah.
self understanding, that's a
Yeah.
major part of healing as well.
Yeah.
Major part. So
Yeah.
that was
Yeah.
just a
Yeah,
misconception.
that's true. And just the arriving, right? Like I always had this, I just was never good enough because I thought that you arrived at everything. Like I thought there was this destination and I could just never get to it. Like, when am I going to fully love myself? Well, to this day, I still struggle, but I have some self-love. And to me, it's choosing it over and over and over again, because my brain does lie to me. It's muted and I can get it to take the back seat, right? I call my anxiety Agnes anxiety. I'm like, Agnes, get on to the back seat. We're moving on. I'm not going to
Oh.
sit in this negative thought with you. And I think it's the showing up and choosing wellness. I know,
Yeah, yeah.
Agnes.
Sorry of all names,
No,
Agnes. Okay.
I tried to give
Big up to
her
all the Agnes's out there.
yeah, because I had to think of it as
Don't say
something
bad
else.
things about Agnes.
Yeah. So I had to think Agnes showed up because she thought she was trying to help, right? In times that I was doing, terrible. But I think it's like choosing to combat those thoughts over and over. And I see why people do want to give up sometimes. I don't think it's this far off thing. I don't judge. I don't want people to feel like that, but I get that it's just overwhelming to have to and exhausting to have to choose, but it's worth it.
It is exhausting, honey. It's really exhausting. The whole journey is exhausting, you know?
Mm.
But eventually it can get better.
It
And that's
can.
what I think we have to hold on to. And when it does get better, you know, hopefully we ride that wave for as long as we can. But then just know that it's never perfect. There will be dips. But if we can maintain
Yeah.
our mental, our physical, and our emotional health, and we can set boundaries, because sometimes it's the people that are around us we need to set boundaries with. We need to set boundaries in our workplaces. We need to set boundaries among our friendships. We need to set boundaries among our relationships. These are big keys, because you know sometimes you could be fighting all you want for your mental well-being, and then some other mofo across the road is going to come and bring you down.
Yeah.
Those are the boundaries. That's when you need to lay those boundaries. I got to a point where I just thought, I can't allow other people to do things that make me switch. And do you know what I mean? Draws me back, either
Yeah.
draws me down or makes me fall backwards because I'm making too much progress.
Yeah.
For me, it wasn't just about career accolades. That's all well and good. But ultimately, it's about what happens behind closed doors. I'm
Yeah.
being on live TV, hosting every night a game show. Do you know how
Yeah.
many times while I'm hosting this game show, unscripted, unrehearsed, unrevised, completely live, I'll be la 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 la, and in my head, I'm planning my how I'm going to take my life. I'm planning how I'm going to leave at 3 a.m. and I'm going to go home and I'm going to do X, Y, Z, because you know that's how the mind kind of works. And I had to learn. You know, I really had to learn ways of getting out of that.
Yeah, yeah. I
So,
think that that's true too. And I think one thing is the misconception is that mania and hypomania is just good, fun, creative, and just wonderful. And because you've been depressed and other things,
mm,
it seems wonderful and parts of it are wonderful. I mean, even this spring, I was like, everything was brighter and beautiful, but we don't, and that's good. So in my mind, I didn't ever acknowledge the bad parts that came with it, which is like the irritability, the fact that people can't keep up, the fact that I had too many ideas, because I think that people think that are very afraid to go on medication, it's going to take away our creativity. And yes, it does. I have less ideas, but the ideas and the things I have, I can follow through and I can strive for a healthy
mm,
amount of excellence. And so that's what I say when
yes.
people are like, I don't want it to take away my creativity. It actually takes like chaotic creativity. And for me, I can funnel it. What do you think about that? Do you feel the
Mm.
same or do you have a different
No,
outlook?
I think that, I think I'm with you there. I'm totally with you. I think the same. I feel like you know, there is that misconception that obviously medication will sort of stunt the mind, it will dull you, it will whatever. And I do get that.
Yeah.
But you have to also have the balance of, if like me, you're going to put yourself in danger, then that medication was important, because I could have all the ideas in the world, but if I'm putting myself in danger, I'm going to end up dead, then it's not going
Yeah.
to be worth it, right?
No
So,
ideas.
you know,
Yeah.
yeah, do you know what I mean? I had to learn whatever. But actually, what I found for me is it's not, I never stopped having ideas. I still have it. Although I'm in a phase at the moment which I'm finding difficult, in terms of somewhere along the line, I've stopped myself from allowing myself to dream and think how I used to
Mm.
think. I
Oh.
medication. life that sort of battered me. I always said I wasn't going to let anyone dim my light, and I've got all these ideas. Do you know how many ideas I've had? TV ideas, programs, and then I see them on the TV 10 years on, 15 years on, 20 years on from when I concepted them in my mind.
Yeah.
And and I tried to get a better, but life and opportunities never came my way. I banged on doors. I've always been about this. Yeah, and there are loads of reasons, right, why I didn't get those opportunities. I never have the green-eyed monster for other people because our lives are our lives, right? So,
Yeah.
but it hurts. It doesn't stop. Less. And so I think by way of protecting myself, I've dimmed my own light, which is something that I said I wouldn't let the world do. So I haven't let the world do it, or so I thought, but in a way it has, because I've just dimmed it just so that, just to kind of cocoon myself. And now sometimes I feel myself at a place where I'm like, okay, I'm fine. I've got a good job, I've got my career, I've got whatever, but I'm much more than that. I'm much more than that. And there's so much more that I want to do. But do I dare to dream anymore? And dreaming is what kept me going all my life, really. Dreaming of a better day, dreaming of a better life, dreaming of a better future. So I fear sometimes, and this is me sharing my fears. I haven't
No,
shared this
thank
with
you.
anyone,
Yeah.
especially of where I'm at right now. Sometimes I feel like, do I still dare to dream? It breaks my heart. It breaks my heart because on one side I can see why I'm doing it is to protect myself. But when did I start? When did this start? When did I start doing this? How did I get here? And it goes back to what we were saying about our thoughts, and how we think, and how we think big, and how we have all the ideas. But also, for me, it wasn't the medication that suppressed me. The world suppressed me. And then initially, and then to protect myself, I started suppressing myself, although I was out and proud and saying, hey, look at me, and I'm doing great things, and I'm ambassador, and I'm working, la la la. But somewhere along the line, I've still been suppressing myself. And I've only just really come to that conclusion quite recently. But I also think it's society. I think the way society is going, particularly in the UK, I feel like, particularly around the world, I'm not going to lie, I feel like society is kind of doing it. People are struggling. People are struggling. Doesn't matter who you are. People are struggling.
Yeah. And I
And
think that the
it
pandemic
makes you
shone
think.
a big light on that. I think people were covering it up
That's my
before,
point.
and
Yeah.
the shone a big light
Yes,
on it. Hey, because I
it
remember,
has.
like, I had a friend that said to me, oh my goodness, the anxiety that I feel about this, do you feel that like all the time or a lot? And I'm like, yep.
Welcome to my world. It's funny because in the pandemic was the only time that I actually chilled. Everyone was freaking out. I wasn't freaking out because I've been in the house for years. I've already lived that life. I've been in my own lockdown in my brain. Like there was nothing that at that point anyone could tell. In fact, I felt relief that the world had to stop because it constantly felt like the world was turning. Everyone was out there doing
Yeah.
stuff and I was stuck. And
Yeah.
everyone was achieving and I was depressed at home. And now, well, everyone's got to be at home too. So we're all
Yeah.
in the same position. So I
Yeah.
actually felt the pressure come off me,
Yeah.
particularly in the beginning when it first kicked off. It was a bit of a novelty for everyone because we were
Yeah.
all baking banana bread, going for nice walks, and it was a bit of a holiday, wasn't it? And
Yeah.
then by the second sort of lockdown, that's when people started going, okay, this isn't funny anymore. We need to get out. Yeah, and it was hard. It was
Yeah.
hard then. But
Yeah.
yeah, in the beginning, I was chilling like a villain, mate. I was
Yeah.
well happy to have permission to sit at home and not have to leave my house because actually people think I'm really outgoing, whatever. I am to a degree in my mind when there's reason.
Yeah.
When there's not, you'll find me at home. You will
Yeah.
find me. I'm a homebody. I'm
Yeah.
not this big out there celeb that people think I am. I'm a homebody. I like my home. I like my sofa. And for everyone to be locked down, it meant that I had permission to do that without
Yeah.
guilt. And it was
Yeah.
quite nice.
Yeah. And then too, like it gave me permission because I had a bit of hypomanic energy because I was like, see everybody, the world, like I've seen the world as hard. I was just like, see this. I felt like people were seeing it. Like I felt like people just go along in their everyday lives and whatever. Meanwhile, internally, I'm like, see the hard things, right? So it felt like, I don't know, there was a bit of relief in it. And actually, like Julie and I, once the world shut down, we were just going to do something for World Bipolar Day. We literally were going to do a collab on Instagram,
Ah,
and we met on Facebook. I had met her in person one time before. I interviewed her at a speaking
ah,
engagement. And by the end of that Facebook, that was like 2.5 hours, we had our show. And then we put it out in
wow.
May. Yeah. So we were able to harness that energy within COVID, right? Instead of like I could have easily spiraled, right? And so, yeah,
Yes.
I think it shone a light, and it actually, some people in my life were actually understood a part of me that they couldn't before. They didn't understand what it felt like to feel
Mm.
like the world was ending, which I feel regularly.
Which we felt, we felt over and over and over again. Like we've been in it for years, right? So people, you're right. It was like suddenly people were feeling what we felt, and that, I guess that's where the sense of relief came from. I was like, oh, not that I ever wished it on my own worst
Yeah, no,
enemy,
no, I hear
but
you.
it gave a sense of maybe you guys might get it a little bit now. So ironically, like I said, in that moment, I was able to go, oh,
Yeah.
I don't feel so much
Or
pressure right now.
yeah.
Everyone kind of is getting it, you
Yeah,
know?
and you're like, I know
So
what to
yeah,
do. I know what to do. Whereas everyone was trying to figure out breathing techniques and all the things. We're like, we have to do this to
yes,
survive.
we knew it.
I
Yeah,
knew what to
that's
do.
right. That's right.
It's pretty wild.
Yeah, yeah, we have the tools.
Yeah.
Thank God.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, okay, this is one thing I wanted to ask you. Being in the TV industry and being in media, how do you feel about the misconceptions, or what do you think are big misconceptions in media and pop culture and movies about folks with bipolar disorder? It's such a disservice, like movies
Oh
and
my
shows.
God.
How do you feel about that? Because I don't know,
Do you
like you probably have some different shows, but you probably see some of this, obviously the same big hits that I do, right?
give me some examples?
Okay,
Because I
so
think
do
sometimes
you
for me it goes over
notice?
my head.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. So do you notice? I notice that a lot of times, especially the people my age as a mom, in a movie, I'll be able to tell that they're going to say they're bipolar before they are, because all of a sudden they're dating someone younger. They've left their guy. They're always freaking painters, right? And free spirits. And I just feel like this is such a stereotype, right? Or we're always bad or violent, or do you know what I mean? Like I
Mm,
long for a show, one that
yeah,
shows it
yeah,
in a
yeah,
good,
yeah,
like
yeah,
in a good light. And then
yeah,
also I long for shows
yeah.
where there's characters that have bipolar disorder, that's not the story.
That's not the story. Exactly. They just so happen to have it. Right. There's this new show, I think Bipolar UK did a lot of the consultancy on it, a new drama on a sort of
Oh,
comedy drama on Channel 4, which is the same channel that my show is on. I
oh,
watched the first episode and it stars the girl from Bridgerton, one of the girls from Bridgerton,
oh,
who was also in Derry Girls. I've forgotten her name, but she's such a
oh, is
great
it the
actress.
blonde one?
She has yes, her. Yeah, 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 yeah. And I really like her, and she plays that, and it was very funny. And you know what? They did it in a good way that it was kind of like, you know, those things of bipolar that nobody really wants to talk about, but that happens. So, for example, sorry, I don't know why I'm laughing at this, and I'm not saying this is typically bipolar thing, but it
Yeah,
really could be.
yeah,
So, for example, she's having a manic episode.
yeah,
She's been invited to her school to go and give a speech of how well she's doing in life. You know, it's the first episode, so we don't really know that much about the character. She's talking about her outfit, whatever, but really in her mind, she's not going back for that. She's going back. She remembers having a crush on the teacher, and now she's older. She's like, yeah, I'm gonna whatever, you know. And she ends up going there doing the speech, but then ends up in his office. So she literally has sex with him, and then the wife walks in. Now I know it's super extreme,
yeah,
but just the fact that it could go from going to a school to give a speech to how does it go from that to
yeah,
having sex with the headmaster and the,
yeah,
like that quick? But in the world, in mania, things move pretty quickly.
yeah,
I don't know how. I was thinking, I was reflecting, you know, my journey here of how different things that I've done, some that I speak about, some that I'll take to the grave.
yeah.
And I think, how did that happen? Like,
Yeah.
how did that go from 0 to 100 so quick? And I'm
Yeah.
not necessarily talking about sex or hypersexuality, because that's a real thing in bipolar
It
as
is.
well.
It's a
That's
real
less
thing.
spoke about. But things like we said in part one, spending, overspending, you know, those sort of like mind games of the auctions that I'd be doing on eBay and things like that. You know, it's like, how do I go from 0 to 100 so quick? Or I'd be perfectly fine. Somebody says one thing and I'm like, rah! Sometimes I feel like I have the strength of 10 men and I'll just be like, rah! You know, and all this wrath will come out. And you go, how do you go from 0 to 100?
Yeah, for sure.
But it's not always like that in personality. It could just be like that in the situation. So that's a really good show.
Oh, that is a good
to check
show.
out.
And I think that,
check
you
that
know,
one out.
even in the stereotypes, there is truth in them. I think the sadness that I have about some of them is just that it doesn't show any other side. So then we're always like this. So then it perpetuates this idea that we can't live, you know, what people would call, there's not a better word, but like normal life, or when we live in euthymia where we're symptom free. And I think it just showing other things. I mean, it doesn't, if you don't understand it, they'll think that's where we live all the time. Like a lot of people are like, well, which one are you today? Because we always have to be, but you know, hypomanic or manic, and we always have to be depressed, where I had years with barely any symptoms
with
or
nothing.
So I think my thing is I want, and that's what I love about you and how you're open, because you do these shows and these things and they're not about your bipolar disorder, but yet you're saying you have bipolar disorder. And there's a few shows.
It's important.
Yeah, and there's a few shows here that, because I'm a big reader, and so they were adaptations from the book, and then they put bipolar characters in that weren't in the book, and they're memoirs, right, of this other thing. I'm thinking of this series called Made, and they added that for entertainment value into the adaptation of her movie. Like, we're entertainment. The extreme part is entertainment. Anyways, I get emotional about it, because I'm like, just show other things, because we want people to understand our experience, but yet it's not all that we are. Does that make sense?
Well, exactly. It makes complete sense. I think a lot of people as well, misconceptions, believe that with bipolar, yes, it is mood swings, obviously, but it's not like in seconds. It's not sweet. I think a big misconception, people think 1 minute you're next minute you're like it doesn't happen that way. You're not going from laughter to tears in 30 seconds. Like, come on. And that's often the way it's portrayed. Almost like, and I don't want to do a disservice to those who have schizophrenia, but almost in that, and it doesn't even work that way in schizophrenia either, you know, or they think it's like some kind of personality disorder or something. They literally think you're Jekyll and Hyde. I've had that a lot. So if I say to somebody, I meet somebody and I say, I have bipolar, do you know what that is? They're like, oh, it just means that you're happy 1 minute and you're sad the next. I'm like, no, it's a lot more than that. Then, you know, I'm not happy. That just makes me sound a bit crazy. And by the way, I'm not crazy. That's the misconception that society tells you about people with bipolar. And that is why what we do is so important, to normalize it. You know, I'm not saying that it's okay. Nobody wants to have bipolar or anything else, but you know, we all have crosses to bear. Everyone's got some ailment in their family or something, right? And bipolar just so happens to be my cross that I bear. But the bottom line is that it, like you say, it doesn't define me, but representation matters. The more people see people like us who go, yeah, we're not perfect. Yes, we have bad days, but we work. We're quote unquote normal. We live life. We socialize. We have husbands. We have daughters. We have sons. You know, we are quote unquote normal people, instead of this thing that people think we are, like we're literally these crazed, deranged entities who I don't know are suddenly going to turn into little goblins. And I mean, I don't know, but sometimes I see the way people look at me, especially in the beginning when I'd reveal my bipolar. I'd reveal it because I felt like it had to be a reveal. Are you going to accept me? Accept me now. If you don't accept me, see you later, honey. Really, you're not for me. You're not part of my tribe. I don't need it. Because like I said, anything toxic, anything negative, you're gone. But in the beginning, I used to really feel like, humbly, please accept me for me and my bipolar. Please accept me. And now I'm like, seriously, if you want to have misconceptions that what you're afraid of me now, you're going to sleep with one eye open. You're afraid to come and visit or ask me over or ask me out or do things as friends or whatever because you think that I might suddenly, I don't know what they think. I'm not even going to put my mind there. It's
Yeah.
their problem. It's not my
Yeah.
problem. I used
Yeah.
to think in the beginning it was my problem. It's not my problem.
Yeah.
I've now grown or I've learned to care less about other people's
Yeah.
perceptions.
Yeah.
That's all I cared about. What are people going to think of me? That's
Yeah.
all I cared about when I was diagnosed. What are people going to think of me?
Yeah.
Now I care less, to be honest,
Yeah.
because I think, you know what? I know where I've come from and I know how hard I've worked. And I also know my heart. I
Yeah.
know my heart is pure. I'm not a bad person. I'm not perfect. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? But I'm not a bad person at my core. I do a lot of good. I do a lot of good in this world. And these are my affirmations that I also tell myself to remind myself and keep feeding that into the world because I spent years going, you're bad, you're this, you're terrible, you're now I reverse all of that. And the truth is the truth, right? You know, so we have to
Yeah.
believe in ourselves, and that's what we've got to show up to the world so that all these silly stigmas that people see,
Yeah.
hopefully it will just become less and less eventually, hopefully.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think people think that, so I think that it depends on to where you are at in your career or even in your life, because I feel like that. And
Mhm.
yet, because of stigma, like I have to be careful. There's some things that I don't talk about, and I regularly have fear that I'm going to lose my job as a teacher, or that the elementary school, because I teach littles, that their parents are going to be like, we don't want her as a teacher, or my kids' friends.
Right.
Or one just happened recently where, so I ended up, because I like to plan parties and I do event planning on the side because, you know, we get bored. So we have
Oh
all
my
the
God, I
careers.
used to as well. Used to do all that too. God, there's so many
Oh my
similarities. I
goodness, we
love
should put
planning.
on a bipolar bash / information.
I honestly, I wish if I was in Canada or you were in the UK, I would be like, let's do an event
Yeah.
tomorrow. I
Yeah.
mean, it doesn't mean we can't do it, but we need to do it. We'll figure it
Yeah.
out. Here we are, people with our bipolar ideas, but we're going to do it.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Let's
go
put it in our thing. Cause if we
it's
can
out
find a
there. It's
way,
out there.
I'm
It's
in.
out
And
there.
there's so many like people online that are like, yeah. And if you did event planning, I did, we can actually make it happen because we know how, the steps. But
We know how to make it happen.
yeah, so all that to say, I planned my other's daughter. I was on the lead planner, my other's daughter's prom. So my other daughter's graduating next year. And so, of course, I ended up being the chair of the event, of course. But it says down in so I have my email. It isn't my podcast email, but even in my email, I put host of This Is Bipolar. And I have my little thing, right? And I literally almost still, because they don't know me yet, because I haven't done much. The school has like her graduating class is like, I don't know, 300. Like it's not, I'm not known in that school.
Wow.
Whereas
Okay. Yeah.
elementary school, I was
Yes.
the
It's
mom,
different. Yeah.
like that mom. I was into
Right.
everything because I love it. So, anyways, I
Yes.
sent an email to the principal and then to another person, and I considered taking it off. And I was like, darn it, damn it. There's still that stigma that I feel like I always feel like, oh, well, maybe they need to get to know me first as like before they get that
Yeah. I think the
stigma.
same.
And I was
Yeah.
like, and I
Yeah.
hear that from others. I did this post, friend, on Instagram, and I talked about um self-stigma masking. I talked about masking and I asked people, so I did it in the feed
I
and
think I
also in
saw that.
stories.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the amount of people that said that they don't want to, but they have to because they might lose their job, or they have before and lost their
Mhm.
job. And I thought I'd get some for sure, but the amount of it, I cried in my room for those people and held space for for hours, because I was like, the fact that now that we're still afraid to tell people in our jobs and people we meet that tells me that the stigma is still strong. And I know we've come, and I try to be positive, but man, we have a lot of ways to go. So is there,
Mm,
all that to come to
mm,
this question,
mm.
is there times like still that you feel that stigma in your life? And then this is a two-parter because I'm thinking way ahead as we do. Do you feel like you need to be as a public person and as ambassador? Do you feel like you need to be like a good representative? Like, do you feel the pressure to be a good representative of someone that's bipolar? Because I feel like that all the time, this pressure that I have to, yes.
Mm.
So 2 questions. Is there in your life where you still
Yeah,
feel that
yeah.
stigma? And 2, do you feel
Okay.
like you need to be the best representation? Hard questions. I'm sorry.
Yeah, good questions. I used to feel that a lot about the yeah, no, it's good. I used to feel that a lot about the stigmas. It took me years. That's why when I got the diagnosis, I hid it for I think it was over 7 years, until one day I woke up and I just said, enough's enough. Because I felt like that was the last sort of metaphorical chains around me that was preventing me from getting well. I'd done stuff up until that point to get myself to a more healthier place, but I felt that hiding it was stopping me from being my authentic self. Because if I can't accept bipolars in my life, how am I going to become well again? Really? I could do stuff, but if I'm still denying the existence of bipolar because I'm hiding it and I'm not saying, well, this is me, whatever this is, guys, then this is going to keep me, it's going to keep me under the cosh. I didn't want that for me anymore. So I was just like, right. So I came out and proud. Then I felt euphoric. And then I was like, oh my God, what have I done? Because I realized that people, I got messages, everyone going, wow, incredible, good for you. Few people saying, I'm happy you did that, but are you sure? Are you sure? Because people are going to stereotype you, the stigmas, whatever. Especially, I got that from people in the Black community, especially. They were like, are you sure? You know what I have to say? I stuck to my guns. Now, nobody's ever said it to my face, but does part of me think that there are probably some people out there that think, she has bipolar, and that they judge me secretly? Maybe they do. But like I said earlier, that's their problem, not mine.
Yeah.
So there are moments where I do feel like, oh my God, should I be talking about this? Should I, whatever? And then I've really spent years to try and just shrug off those stigmas. Because if I allow my brain to start going there, my brain will take it and it will run with it. And it's going to make it into a big thing. And before you know it, I'm no longer an ambassador. In fact, I'm not even on TV. In fact, I'm not going to leave my house. That will spiral very quickly if I'm not careful. So I try and stay on what I call code. I'm like, if that's what people, fine. No, it doesn't matter about this. I'm just going to keep. Because all I could do is represent what you see here. Some people don't they think that I'm very passionate when I speak. Most people see that as a powerful, a great thing. People go, I love the way you speak, Leah. You're so enthusiastic. You're so passionate. I felt that. And then other people go, oh my gosh, whose problem is that? This is who I am. I'm quite enthusiastic when I speak. This is how I sound. I'm animated. And I thought, oh, maybe I should try and tone it down. But who am I appeasing? I'm appeasing other people, not me.
Yeah.
I'm going to make myself sick again. If I'm sick, who looks after me? Nobody. So Leah, your first priority is to keep yourself well. That's what I tell myself. So yes, sometimes I feel those stigmas, and then I quickly shut them away or shove them out the door, because I will not let them climb through my window and make themselves comfortable in my room. It's not happening. The minute I see it, I'm like, shooting you right out the door, honey, and I'm closing that door behind you. You are not making camp in my house. Because if you let a bad thought or bad person, a bad thought, make camp in your house, before you know it, you're going to be unwell. Yeah. So so that's answering the first question. It's a yes or a no. I kind of answer, but not. But yeah,
you
I do
did
feel
answer.
it, but and then the second question, I'll go quick recap. What was the second question? As a person in the public eye, do I feel like I have to always sort of there are times, but again, everything I do, I try and do with 100% authenticity. So on one hand, if I'm really, really sick, you just won't see me about. That's the true way of knowing. You won't see me about. You won't see me online, because I'm probably having a down day or maybe a down week. Like I said, I'm not that big on social media anyway, and I probably should be for somebody in the public eye. But you see, the issue is, even with social media, because I put up a post and I might say something about bipolar, say on Twitter or X, And I could guarantee there's going to be 5 people coming under me saying bipolar isn't real. It's all in your head. People being, and I just can't be asked with it. I can't be asked. So I just think, I can't be asked, babes.
Yeah.
Seriously. So that's why sometimes I'm not bothered to do it. That's why sometimes I would prefer to come on Shaley's podcast and talk, because you know what? Then they'll put the comments on your post. And I don't mean that because putting that to you, but you.
No. I actually thought that I would get that a lot more, but I think that most people know what they're coming to because my handle is This Is Bipolar. I get a little bit more on my more personal where it's, do you know what I mean? I get that more on there.
I get it. Right. So I didn't get it on my Illuminate Mental Health platform. But when it's me speaking, I get some asshole that feels like it's their right to come and tell me that bipolar is made up and it's this and it's that. Oh, Leah Charles King ignores it and moves on. So when you say, do I mask? Yes, in certain times, I'm a Black woman from London. I can handle myself. I can stick up for myself. So when people are coming and chatting rubbish to me, like I could just tell them something straight away. And being bipolar, if we tap into that dark side of bipolar, we could, let's be honest, in our bad ways, we could probably crush somebody more than they could crush us, right? But I choose to live in love and peace and harmony. I'll just gracefully ignore those people. But there are moments in me, I'm having a rough day. I don't need some stranger somewhere coming and telling me about my life and what I've gone through and that it's not real and it's made up and you should do this. And then I'm like, but obviously I can't because I'm in the public eye. So I've got to be not. I mean, I don't have to. I could just whatever. F off.
But there's always like, there's always a line. I always say I'll block them and bless them. Block and bless. Block and day, because I get a lot of these messages after the podcast is, well, I could never be like you. You're stronger than me, or it's unsafe for me to tell people. I wish I could, all of these things. And I want to say to you that, like we said before, bipolar is not a monolith. Leah and I are, extroverted. This is our advocacy. This doesn't mean that you're not smashing stigma or whatever. Yours is maybe just telling one person that doesn't understand. Yours is maybe liking one of our posts. That is advocacy. That is advocacy. So please don't put us up on a pedestal. Everybody has other gifts and talents, and we like microphones. And so please don't let this, don't feel bad that you can't be the same, because we all need to do things on different levels. And I truly believe that telling one person, speaking out loud, that you live with bipolar disorder is advocacy.
Shaley, I absolutely agree. Here. I feel like we all have our different paths in life. We all have our different strengths and, things that we're good at. This just, for me, I was already in the public eye, right? So it just made absolute sense. Because if I'm going to continue to be in the public eye, which I was, after I was sick and got diagnosed, I never thought I'd work again back in media. But I ended up, because clearly that's what I'm meant to be doing, I ended up being dragged back. I never tried, believe you me, I've tried to quit the industry a million times because it's just painful sometimes. But I always get pulled back somehow. So I felt, well, the only way to be authentic and show up is I'm going to have to speak about this. And that's why. So it's just coincidence that, well, if I'm going to have this platform, I should then use it to represent that. But I know many people who are in the public eye and who aren't, who are still successful in their own rights, who have bipolar. Some keep it a secret. Some only tell their loved ones. Some don't. Everyone copes and deals with it and manages it how they want. Do what is right for you.
Yes.
My only advice or encouragement would be do what is authentic. So, for example, you don't need to tell the world. But be authentic to who you are. If you are behind closed doors and you have loved ones around you, for example, friends, partners, husbands, wives, whatever, they deserve to know, because you deserve the support. Right? You deserve that support. And they deserve to know. So allow them to love you the way that you deserve to be loved. If you don't tell them, you're carrying a burden. You don't deserve that. None of us do. So don't carry the burden. And you know what? If that person's going to turn on you because you have bipolar, that means that they don't have that love for you that you hope. And if they don't have that love for you, then you need to be free to find that love. Go where you are wanted, go where you are loved. And that's what I truly believe. So, yes, it's hard, but if we're holding on to the wrong types of relationships or the wrong types of people, that's going to, again, dim our light, keep us low, keep us small. I refuse that, because I remember feeling that small and breaking out of these chains. And now I'm like, here I am, take it or leave it. This is me. But as you just said to everyone, you don't have to be a Leah or Shaley character. You don't have to go and tell the world. It might just be like you're showing up within your household. You're showing up among your kids. People say, my mum bipolar. I wish they talked to me about it. I wish they explained. I wish they knew. I wish they understood, but they were so ashamed, or they didn't talk about it. And as kids, they grew up being affected by watching their parents mood swings, or having these times where they're in a bed, next minute they're happy and whatever. So this is what I mean by honesty. Honesty in a environment is important. Being honest with the people around you. If there's people who love you enough to be in your home, your kids, your partners, your loved ones, they will support you. They will love you. They will love you. I promise you. It may be hard. They may have questions, but true people who love you will be there. And that's what I've learned since coming out of the bipolar closet. People have even really ridden this way with me. When I thought I'd be abandoned, I actually had a lot more support than I even knew. In fact, I had less support when I was hiding it, right? When I was hiding it, I had much less support. Since coming out, I've got a lot more support, and I actually know that I'm a lot more loved than what my brain once told me I was. My mind told me I wasn't loved. It fooled me for years.
Yes. I love that you said that that's the one thing. And I would just love, well, I would love to talk to you forever because we're now best friends, but I would just love to wrap it up on because what you said, like, you are deserving. We tend to blame everything on ourselves, or like take scraps, or feel like, oh, we're lucky that they put up with us. I mean, no,
Right.
no,
We deserve
no.
more than breadcrumbs. We are good. We are
Yes.
whole people. And you know what? The more we work on ourselves and make ourselves better people, then we're even greater. You know, as they say, later will be greater. So at the end of the
Ooh.
day, I'm not, later will be greater, honey. You know, I'm not going to sit there and kiss anybody's feet because, quote unquote, they put up with me. Or maybe I put up with them just as equally. You know, we are people. We make mistakes. We do good. We do bad. We have high days. We have low days. Nobody should feel like they're being put up with. Like I said, you deserve love, and go where you are loved. And that goes for all the listeners. We deserve to be happy. I think I said it in part one. We deserve to be happy. We deserve to live a happy life. Bipolar does not need to be the be all and end all. For me, for many years, I thought it was the be all and end all. The first thought in the morning, the last thought at night, and every thought in between. Oh, I'm bipolar. Oh, no. And now it's Mental Health Awareness Week, so I'll think about it more. I'm talking to you for a couple of hours, you know, but at the same time, I try not to think of it every day. Certainly nothing like how I used to. It took over my whole life, because I felt like I had to apologize, be apologetic to the world, because here I am with bipolar. Absolutely not. If I have that attitude, that's going to make me small and make me continue to believe that I'm nothing and I'm unworthy. And I felt many years that I was unworthy, and that's untrue. We are all worthy. And if you are a good person, you deserve good things. And I wish good things for you, Shaley, and I wish good things for all your listeners. May you all be blessed in whatever you choose to do in life. And we're all just striving for the same thing. And that's to be well, that's to be happy and healthy, and keep the right things in mind, which are the things that hold us dear, our loved ones, you know, because tomorrow's not promised. Tomorrow's not promised. So that's what I hold in my heart. That's how I choose to live now.
And I absolutely adore you for that. So friends, go and support Leah. Go and find all her things and listen to her, because really she has just made my day, and I will carry so many of the things that you have said in my heart. And so I just want to remind everybody, because I always forget to do this, but Leah has inspired me, telling me that I'm worthy. I have subscriptions on Instagram. if you like what I do or want to support the work or want extra content and you get extra episodes that are exclusive, it is $6.99 US a month. Go. If you don't want, we also have,
Oh,
we have a personal support group message where we message daily. It's like a little support group in there. And some people say, but I don't want to like show up. I just want to support you. You can also subscribe and not show up. But I'm telling you,
yeah,
the little group we have there so
that's
far.
brilliant.
Yeah, yeah. And we're
That's
actually
brilliant.
gonna
Good for
have,
you. Maybe I should do something like that. A bit
oh,
imposter syndrome. I always think nobody's going to show up. Nobody wants to hang out with me.
yeah,
And then I meet somebody like you who goes, "We love you. We love hanging out with you." So maybe, yeah,
yeah,
I need to. Maybe one day. I mean, right now,
yeah,
I just try and
yeah.
survive.
Well, maybe you can zoom in on some
That's
of
all
our
I'm trying to do, survive.
we're starting our we're starting we're gonna have our first like Zoom meeting together and meet each other. So it's pretty cool. But yeah, you'll have to come and visit us. So yes, that is my
That is
spiel
cool.
of
Would love that.
believing in my
Okay.
worthiness. And so I love you to bits. Friends, you're gonna see us doing on stuff online together because I'm not gonna leave her alone. She is awesome.
Oh, I love that. Please don't leave me alone, Shaley. Always prod me, inspire me. That's what I'm
Oh,
looking for at the moment, and it's great to meet friends from around the world. I'm so happy that we met. And that is part of why social media is good, right? I know I go, oh, but if it wasn't for social media, we would never even
right.
know that each other is existing. And we might be in our own little pockets of the world suffering in silence, right? So social media does help with connecting like-minded people
Yeah.
like ourselves. So thank you so much for having me on your podcast. I wish you all the best. You've really inspired me by our conversation today, but also how you manage your social media presence and your content. And I just wish the best for you, like for everybody else. And for anyone out there who's suffering, maybe you're newly diagnosed, maybe you're going through the journey, maybe you're going through the Groundhog Day that I spoke about in part one, just know that tomorrow's another day. There is life after diagnosis, and just take every day as it comes. Try not to beat yourself up about life. Be gentle with yourself, just like you would with a friend. You wouldn't beat your friend up the way we could beat our own selves up, would you? So
True.
remember that next time you're proverbially banging yourself about the head. Just remember that you would be kind to a friend. So be kind to yourself first and
Yeah.
foremost. Thank you so much.
I love that. Hearts. This is Bipolar. Thanks again for tuning in. You can find video versions of This is Bipolar on our YouTube channel. We also have all our previous and soon to be future episodes of the podcast on Apple, Podbean, Spotify, and Google Play. We spend most of our time on Instagram at this.is.bipolar. There is a vibrant community there where we have conversations and post different ideas and different strategies, and we'd just love for you to join us there. It is so helpful if you enjoy our work or think it would be helpful to someone if you could like and share and save and follow us in all or any of those spaces. If you're a listener for the podcast, if you could leave a review, we would be forever grateful. Again, thank you for being here with us. Let's get the word out. Let's share lived experiences so that we can change the ideas that people have about bipolar and help those of us that live with it feel less alone. This is Bipolar.